cool.
Am I cool now?
Oh, even more cool.
Even cooler. I forgot they were on my head. Happy Thursday, friends. I am so excited that we were able to steal some time from this really cool guy, as our stand-in president said. Fellow Rotarian, Travis Mohlenbrink, is with us today. He is the president and owner of many flavorful restaurants in the area: Cracked Pepper, Sugar, Time, Industry Brewing, and Saffron Social. His drive for excellence has led to numerous awards and recognitions, including Peoria Journal Star's Reader's Choice, Peoria Riverfront Museum People's Choice, ranging from awards from the Heart of Illinois Hospitality Association to groups and speaking national in magazines and community industries alike. He has been listed as one of Central Illinois' most imaginative restaurateurs. And walking into any of his restaurants, you'll see where his mind goes culinary-wise. Becoming a restaurateur wasn't his original career goal, however. He went to college to study elementary education because he really wanted to be a baseball coach. Student teaching made him realize that wasn't for him. He began working at Chili's Bar and Grill in Normal and met a man who was opening the first Panera franchise in the region. His hands were full back then. There wasn't a manual or detailed to do this, and so he was game in. He said, I'll help you manage the Panera, and a couple of years before opening 5 restaurants of his own in Central Illinois. So here to tell us a little bit more about his imaginative plans and the flavorful environment he's creating for us is Travis Mohlenbrink.
Thanks, Ashley. It's a pleasure to be here. As Ashley said, I'm a fellow Rotarian. I wish I'd made it to the meetings a little bit more than I do. But I'm glad I'm here today. As a little bit of recon, I did find out that I also host at my event center the Rotary meetings on Friday. And it looks like we need to raise our prices of $15 a Jim, thanks for that. Thank you to Ashley, and I also want to say thanks to Jim. If anyone knows how it is to put these on every week, it's me, and it is some work, and I know these guys work really hard, and they're great at what they do. So I started not Spice Hospitality, but I started my first concept just like this, as a catering company. All the way back in 2006. I was working in the restaurant industry for some years for other people, and it was just time for me at the point of my life to make a decision that I was going to be gone a lot and dedicate my life to making money for other people, or be gone a lot and make money for myself. So I decided the latter. What I didn't realize is the road that was ahead of me. It's been a long, wild, bumpy sometimes and smooth at others road. The industry has changed a lot. I'm here today to talk about my latest concept, but I think it wouldn't be right for me to at least tell you a little bit about what I've done in the past and sort of what's gotten me here. When I started my first catering business, for me it was a leap of faith. I had some automatic customers that were friends of mine that had promised to order meals for me. They did. But I had some people that were dedicating their business to me based on what they'd seen me do for other people, and specifically Panera. That led to many events, and really what led to all these restaurants. When I opened Cracked Pepper, I opened it as something that I wanted to do daily catering. I never thought that we would do events at night. I didn't think we would do weddings. I didn't think, it was just going to be breakfast, lunch, corporate style catering. And today, Cracked Pepper does over $5 million a year in catering, and it's really mostly events, and we hardly do, any corporate catering. Go figure. But so when I started that in 2006, what happened was I had a lot of people asking when we would cater these corporate events, hey, where can we get this chicken dish? Where can we get those cookies? Where can we get, this side dish? Where, I'm having a picnic on Saturday. I'd love to bring this potato salad somewhere. So what I ended up doing is, because I found the cheapest space of rent that I could possibly found down on Northeast Adams Street, because I never thought I would open up a retail location either. I decided we're here every day, we might as well open up the doors and start trying to sell some of this stuff. And so that's exactly what we did. And that's really what got me into the restaurant industry. We were there. We had a little bakery case that we sold some cookies and a few things out of, but you could also get sides of our potato salads and our the meats that we were making and catering out on a daily basis. Still not doing any, evening events, no weddings, anything like that. That little bakery cafe ended up getting like a line out the door on Saturday mornings from people on their way to Eastport Marina, on their way, wherever they were going, football games, tailgating. And so it just sort of word of mouth grew, and we expanded that location over the process of 2 years. So 2008 and 2010, I built onto that little bakery cafe. And at that point, I thought I had enough knowledge to really jump full into the restaurant industry and open a restaurant called Salt in Peoria Heights. And that was in 2011. It's my first stab at fine dining, as I'm going to talk about Saffron later. Salt was a very unique concept for the area. It was, I would say, probably on the cutting edge of fine dining for Peoria. The dish I always tell people about when I talk about Salt, and why I say it was cutting edge, is we actually did a dessert there that was made with goose liver and marshmallows. So, essentially it was a s'mores that was made from farquois, which is a goose liver. So, things like that on the menu, back, we're talking 13 years ago, wasn't. I don't think Peoria was really ready for some of that yet. It was I thought a great concept, and it did well, but eventually we ended up changing that concept a few years later in 2018 into Cayenne. But I also own a restaurant that I opened after Salt called Sugar. It's a wood-fired pizza place. You'll end up seeing some changes to Sugar. I hope by the end of this year we'll have the changes done and open. If not, by the first part of next year. I'm actually changing Sugar into a full-service restaurant. It's a quick casual restaurant now. And what I'm going to do is create a new entrance and expand the back parking lot area into a full bar. And so you'll be able to get cocktails there. Then we already do beer and wine. But you'll be able to sit down, order a pizza, or we're also going to expand the menu into a few other Italian dishes, and have what I hope it to be just a really nice, quaint Italian wood-fired pizza restaurant that you can enjoy with your family or a date night or something like that. That's the feel that we're going for with the change with Sugar. And you can ask me questions later on why. I have 100 reasons, but. And in 2016, I opened the Warehouse on State, which is my event center, along with Time Kitchen and Craft Beer. That restaurant is a gastropub, higher end bar food with great bourbon selection and a lot of craft beers, rotating selection, really almost daily. Industry Brewing then is something I opened in 2017. And I opened a cracked pepper cafe and bakery on Glen Avenue in 2018. That I did close. That was a COVID concept that didn't make it. So that now is a great restaurant. If you haven't been there yet, I think the Queen of Squash is doing a great job there. It's really great food. And then I flipped, as I said, in 2018, Salt into Cayenne, which is a Mexican concept. And then in 2023, last year, I just opened Saffron Social. So all these restaurants believe it or not, like I've always been working like on the next concept before I even got the next one open. I mean, as I look through pictures sometimes, I'm looking at pictures of one restaurant, me celebrating the opening, and the next reel of pictures on my phone are 5 pictures of the construction project that's going on somewhere else. And I mean, and that really was the last 12 years of my life. Saffron was a concept that I started talking to OSF Healthcare Service about really in 2018 when I had opened and done the flip of salt into cayenne. We kind of went back and forth on a few different concepts and kind of landed on this steakhouse slash what I call it an Italian steakhouse. And I'm really happy we did. It's a concept I think Peoria is in need of. It's not a steakhouse, it's not a seafood place, it's not an Italian restaurant, but it really does have an assortment of those 3 elements that I feel we do really well. So at this restaurant in particular, I spent a lot of time researching and eating a lot of steak. I would put not just the fact that what we buy, the product that we buy of steak on a daily basis, but the way we cook it, what we do to it, I think is unlike the way anyone else is cooking it in town at any restaurant. We are starting out with certified Angus beef, and we are using a prime cut of certified Angus beef. It's super expensive. I mean, Jim will tell you, beef in general is expensive. Anything that's really choice or above is to me is out of control at this point. And but it's a great cut of beef, and all I wanted and all I cared about, I didn't care what the end price was going to be for me, or really, and I'm sorry to say, but really what the end price was going to be for the customer. But I wanted to put in what I think is the best steak in front of anybody in town. So in doing that, I wanted to start out with what I thought is the best piece of meat, and that's what we found in this prime certified Angus beef. And I could go into numbers and tell you it's like, prime beef is like the top 1% of beef sold in the country, and then the certified Angus prime is like, it's ridiculously. Basically, it's American Wagyu is what on a grading scale, like this cut of beef is just like right on the edge of what they would call American Wagyu. So it's a great steak. I also wanted to have just not a lot, but a few very, very high quality seafood items. I would put the overall flavor of our scallop dish. We do a really unique scallop dish at this restaurant up against any scallop dish around. I mean, it's a really fun play on scallops, but again, high quality dish. What we do is we actually take the little pieces of cauliflower, the little round ends of cauliflower, and we make a succotash out of that, but almost like a hash out of that. But it's smoky, it's good, people love it, and it goes well with this dish. We do things like a bolognese dish there. We do a halibut dish there. We have when I talk about steaks, we only have 3 different cuts, but we have 2 cuts, 2 sizes of 2 of the different steaks. So there's 5 different steaks total. And when I say we cook them differently than most people, what we do with these steaks is when we get them in and cut them, we actually have this upright broiler is what it's called. And this broiler can go up to like 1,500 degrees on both sides. It has a drawer that pulls out. And we very, very lightly season and put a little bit of oil on the outside of the steak. And we put it in the drawer. And what happens is when it goes in there, it sears the steak immediately. And we cook it almost to temp on that upright broiler. And then we pull it out right before it's finished. And right next to this upright broiler, we have this cast iron skillet. And in this cast iron skillet, on one side is a bunch of herbs and butter, on the other side is sort of the nothing. And we finish it off by putting on the cast iron skillet and just consistently putting the herbs and butter over it until it finishes to temperature. So the steak is already very fatty with, with the grade that we have. You sear it and it starts to bring some of that fat, the fattiness out, but it really sears all those juices in. And then finishing it off with the butter and herbs, just the richness of it. When we do it the way it's supposed to be done, we cook it to the person's satisfaction the way they want it to be done. Again, I don't think there's a better steak in the area. But the food-wise, that's essentially, what we're trying to what we're hanging our hat on, or we're really trying to hype up is, we're not just a steak place, but we think if you're really going to go out and look for a great steak somewhere, I hope Saffron's at least on the list. When I was talking to OSF about this concept, I thought, they were wanting to have a concept there that their people could come and meet and hang out after work and so I thought at first we were looking at like a higher end sports bar with some TVs and things like that, and that was not really something that they were looking for. And so when we finally landed on this Italian steakhouse, the process for me, all the restaurants that I mentioned previous, I did the layout of the restaurant, the decor, every outlet that's on every wall is there because I said put an outlet there. The kitchen layout, all the animal heads that are in time. Like I went to Pittsburgh to pick those up, right? Everything was like a vision that I had, and just worked to try to get to from start to finish of that completed project. This project for me was a little bit different in the sense that OSF was sort of my partner now because it was their building and such a big project for them that they're working on, because it is connected, if you're not familiar, with the new OSF headquarters building downtown. And so OSF also owns a construction company. So there was no way I was heading this project up and the construction wise or anything like that. Thank goodness. My days of dealing with those types of projects and the city and things like that, I hope are never going to happen again. So OSF headed this whole project up for me, which was great. So essentially what I did is I took pictures of places that I had been researching and that I liked the look of and the feel of. I already had the menu down, what I wanted the food to be, because that for me, the reason I mentioned the food part of the menu first is because that's what creates the space to me, is what's the food going to be. So when you go into sugar, we're cooking on a concrete old slab wood fired oven, and we truly only cook with wood. There's no gas line into that oven at all. Everything that comes out of that oven is truly cooked with wood. So it's sort of rustic, and it's an old way to cook, right? Fire and on concrete and so I hope when you walk into sugar, it's kind of like, this building's sort of beat up a little bit and it's kind of rustic. And I'm not making excuses for the building, but it just really is sort of when I was looking for where sugar going to go, where's this concept going to go? It needed to go in like an old building that had old floors to it in it. So everything that's created in that space, if you ever really look around and sit down, the chandeliers I designed out of old doors. So like those doors I got in a salvage yard, and then we hang chandeliers through them, right? So like everything is really, it's repurposed and old. So in Saffron, everything needed to be pretty and new and nice and glamorous, right? So OSF had a team of people that they work with on their hospital projects. And essentially, after they received the pictures of what I wanted the concept to look like, they gave me 3 different like storyboards of what they thought they could put into this budget for the price that they had to work with. And so right away, I honed in on 2 of them, and we kind of took some things out of 1 and put into 2. And then from that point on, it was, just me kind of checking to make sure that the colors were right and everything. And I'm really speeding things up. But usually I was at the job site every day. This was like a once every couple week type thing. So it was a very, very different way for me to actually open the restaurant, which gave me more time to focus on things like the silverware, the glassware, just the little things that we're doing. When you come in, if you're celebrating your anniversary, we have stationery and that we designed and had done, that we leave you a handwritten note, thank you for coming and celebrating your anniversary with us. Just thinking of things like that, writing it down, coming up with a handbook, all the things that have to be done before you open a place like that. It just gave me a little bit more time, and I'm glad I did, because this concept it was hard. I mean, it's when you're bringing in fresh seafood on almost a daily basis, keeping some things alive, keeping some things fresh. It's just, it's a lot of work in a kitchen, to do it. And not that every kitchen's not a lot of work, but this one's been a challenge for sure. And I hope, at the end of the day, the concept of Saffron is and for me anyway, is what I hope that people get out of it. It's a place that, when you have a business meeting or you have somebody coming in town, that you're just looking to go and spend an hour and a half and sit down and just enjoy a nice meal and enjoy the company that you have, and do it in just a beautiful space. Because if you haven't seen it, it really is a beautiful space. I was asked if I had any slides, and I probably should have brought some slides of the space since I was talking about it today, but maybe it'll get you to come and check it out at some point. But it really is just, they did an amazing job on taking my pictures and, putting it into the actual space itself. And, there's a beaded curtain that's separates what I would call the bar area from the dining area. And, that was the one thing that when I first saw the storyboards that had to be there. And that was, believe it or not, that when we had to start cutting costs a little bit towards the end, that was the first thing that was on the chopping block. So we made some other concessions, and if you've been there, again, there's a big pillar in the bar area that's very annoying. Well, the only reason that's there is because we had to it was either that pillar was going to be able to get figured out, or we get to keep the beaded curtain. So I kept the beaded curtain. And I'm glad I did, because I do think it's sort of a signature piece of the restaurant when you walk in. I think you would know when you go. But I didn't do, I didn't put in the time and the work in dealing with, like I said, the subs, the city, and that part of this project. Didn't mean I didn't have to deal with some of that, but it sort of opened my eyes to, in the future, if I were to ever do another concept, would I hire a general contractor, or would I continue to be my own? And I would definitely say at this point in my life, I would never not have a general contractor again. But what I'd like to do, and this is the most fun part of when I ever talk to people, is just kind of open up for questions. And I don't care if it's a question about Saffron, or if it's a question about any of the other restaurants, or anything that I do, or I'll address this real quick. So some of you that know me, so I'll get this sometimes, or some of you that I'm acquaintances with, or you see me in restaurants. I have lost a lot of weight, and I'm not sick. So yeah, towards the end of last year, my wife and I made some great life changes, and I'm actually training for a triathlon now. So anyway, so that's it. I just wanted, because a lot of times people are going to say, "Hey, you lost a lot of weight. Are you okay?" Just addressing that now. But yeah, so any questions?
How did you come up with the spice theme for your business? Repeat it.
Yep, so the question is, how did I come up with the spice theme for the businesses? And when I said I had some friends in the pharmaceutical industry that had agreed to buy some lunches off me early on when I started Cracked Pepper, I always sent like a little, it had like a fork, a knife, a salt and pepper pack, and a napkin in this little plastic pack. So every lunch that you would get, we would send that. And this friend of mine, when I was thinking of the name, I didn't have a name for Cracked Pepper yet. she said, well, every time I go to wipe my face after eating some of your food, the napkin smells like a peppery napkin. You should call it you should be the peppery napkin. And that started the peppery something, and then it was like, then it evolved into cracked pepper. And then from that point on, I was actually, I was on a trip in California, and I had the concept and I had the space, and I was creating the space for salt, but didn't have the name yet. And I was walking by a place in California, and the restaurant was called Salt. And I mean, it was meant to be. So had cracked pepper and was looking for a name and walked by Salt. I had to call it Salt. So and then they just evolved from there. And our dog's name is Curry. So.
What's the, can you explain a little bit about how you source, what's your sourcing strategy, and is it, how diverse is it, and do you do any farm to table?
Yeah, so, I mean, essentially you could say some of the certified Angus beef is farm to table. There are, like, we did a wine dinner, certified Angus beef wine dinner about a month and a half ago. And we had a speaker from certified Angus beef come, and he brought a farmer from Fairbury who actually supplies to certified Angus beef. So, you know, don't get me wrong, all of our beef that we serve there doesn't come from Fairbury. It comes from all over the Midwest. But Cisco Foods is our main provider. We also use Dixon's as our provider for the seafood that we use, especially for our shellfish. We just found that, like, mussels, things like that, they're live product, and it's better just they have the live product there. It's right across the river. Why would we get it from anywhere else? And then, you know, the thing with farm to table has gotten a lot better, but when you're talking about, you know, serving thousands of meals a week, sometimes it just, some farmers that think they're ready to supply the hospitality industry they just aren't yet.
I got a question, Saffron, since it's downtown, how are you handling the parking issue there at the OSF?
Great question. So,
Another question. Go ahead.
Connected to that building that we're in, you actually is an 3-story parking deck, and we validate parking. So when you don't even have to leave you can park in the deck, walk right into the restaurant without going outside, and then we validate your parking to leave. So it's free parking.
Okay.
And it's a brand, OSF redid that deck. It's like a brand new deck.
The other question is, some restaurants around the area are closing because of health issues. Are you having health issues?
Always.
Yeah.
We constantly have health issues. I mean, when I say health issues, I think I have some of the best staff in the area. I mean, I have some people that I could go on hours about some of the people that work for me that are just, it's not, when you go to my restaurants, and if you have a great experience, it's not me, it is them. They are in operations every day. I try to be a leader to them, but as far as, you know, I have some really awesome people. I have some people that have been with me 13 years, 12 years, 10 years. I mean, it's a long time. But it is a struggle to get people in general. It is almost impossible, what I see, to get really good people. I mean, in our industry, it just really, I mean,
Why?
yeah, why is the question? I mean, I have my theories.
What are they? Doesn't want to share.
Our pool of employees aren't, you know, what maybe OSF's pool of employees are. I mean, a lot of times we have our employee pool. I mean, I'm looking for people who are interested in washing dishes till 1 in the morning. You know, when all their friends have been out for 4 hours, or you know, I'm looking for people that want to stand at a fryer and when it's 90 degrees in the kitchen and, you know, pull out fries and hot food all night long and leave there smelling like a fryer because they had to clean it at midnight, while their friends making, you know, $21 an hour doing this at Target. You know, with full benefits. It's just, it's tough.
Well, first thing I would say is it's wonderful to have you here. You're an entrepreneur. You've got something in your blood system. This is really where my question comes from. What is it about you? Why are you not operating a chain of Paneras at this point? What little slice of you belongs only to you?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
great question. And I could have very easily run a chain of Paneras or another chain. For me, it was about establishing a life for myself. And at the time that I made the decision to open my own thing and do my own thing, where I had gone and where I had made it to, it was really a life of travels. I mean, to make what I was making in the chain world at that point really required me to travel quite a bit. And it wasn't for me anymore. And so that was the basis, is for me to really be established somewhere. And then when I finally got to Peoria and started meeting the people here, and I mean, it's all about relationships, and it's all about, the people in this community really, not just, I think, respecting what other people who make contributions and investments in this community. I lived in Bloomington for a few years before I moved here full time, and Bloomington does not, again, it's my opinion, they don't support the individually owned places like the Peoria community does. It's something, I'm on a number of boards in the area. It's something that every board I'm on will tell you, like, gosh, I was in Atlanta, and in, here, I've never seen a community support something like this. I mean, it's just the people in this community are amazing. And, I wouldn't do it if people weren't coming and encouraging me to do more. So for me, obviously it's a labor of love, but it's also about, I'd love for people to have a place that they can go to every night of the week. That's one of mine. And that's very different, and that's unique in its own way. So, I just love it. And I love people who love it. So.
Well, this is perfect timing that you're here, and I'm really glad you're here. Thank you very much, because I have reservations for 5 people for Saturday night. And my brother is from Chicago, and I can't wait for him to walk out of the restaurant saying, boy, this is the best place I've been. Because there are a couple of other good restaurants in Peoria, but I am really looking forward to him going to Saffron Social. So now I was going to ask, what should we order? But I think I know steak and scallops. How about appetizers?
So there's a dish on the appetizer menu that is 100% a dish that I had to get put on. So I was in South Florida 3 or so years ago, and I ordered a curry soup, and before my meal, appetizer type thing. And I ended up getting a mussels dish for my main entree, and I ended up eating the mussels with this, like dipping the mussels in the soup. And so we actually have an appetizer on the menu that's a potato curry. So they're mussels, but it's in like a potato curry paste. They're really, really good. If you like curry, they're really good. Sure.
Hi, Travis. It's a pleasure to meet you. I've always wondered who owns these amazing restaurants, and now I know who you are. So I'm super glad that I'm here and to hear your story. And you mentioned all about the steak and those main big dishes. One of my favorite things are the Brussels sprouts, and it sounds so simple, but they're the best Brussels sprouts I've ever tried in my life. I love them. And also the mezcal cocktail, amazing.
Thank you.
And I just want to, so I could see you're a visionary, and you mentioned how you always have your next idea. So do you have any next idea now for a future restaurant?
So I actually am doing due diligence on a building right now that's not in the Peoria area. I moved full-time about a year and a half ago out to Henda, Illinois, which is if you've ever heard of Oak Run, the lake. So I bought a place and moved there full-time on the lake. So I'm actually looking at something out towards that direction, like Wisconsin Supper Club type thing.
Thank you very much for Saffron Social.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much for your time.